America's team.
And it's all over! The Browns are winners today!
What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic start to your Monday here. Welcome into a quick hitting edition of the Barking Browns. I'm Jacob. That's Casey Kinnaman. Make sure you hit that subscribe and that like button here on the YouTube. Helps us grow, and we really, really appreciate it. If you want to check out our sponsor, SeatGeek, get some tickets to some upcoming events, concerts, games, whatever, go over to SeatGeek, use our promo code Barking Browns, one word, get $20 off your first order. Casey, how we doing, brother?
Well, I can't call it today, but I know because I haven't really delved into the wasteland of social media today. But I can tell you that where I was yesterday was a much better place than most Browns fans coming out of that game.
Yes.
I'm in a spot where I just think that there is a very bright future and going to be competitive in a lot of games. And I know everybody wants to get caught up in it didn't work yesterday, so it's over for the year. Or you're 0-6 already for a lot of people. And I just can't get there, man.
Here's the biggest thing, because I have been that fan in the past for sure, where especially because they've had some bad like blowout losses in the first week and things like that. So it was at least better than Baltimore in 2020 as an opening game. Like it wasn't quite as bad as that. That was what
Tennessee in 2019, or we've sat through these,
Yeah, so it wasn't quite that bad, but I've been the overreaction fan, and I think to the first week, and I think it's just because all offseason is building up to that specific game. And so if that game isn't good, you just feel like, well, then what have we been talking about for 6 months? What are where are all these positives that guys like you and me have talked about all summer long? And like they were there.
They were there.
But a loss is a loss. And so I understand you. For everybody out there, if you are overreacting to week one, I understand you. I respect it. But what we're going to do on this episode, and we'll do another episode later in the week because neither one of us have had, and I don't even know if the All 22 is accessible yet. So
it is. I have not got to see it, but it is. It dropped.
But I have not been able to see it. Casey has not been able to see it to this point. So we won't be able to go into excruciating detail about this game. But I really did want to talk about some of the optimism, some of the reasons for optimism in general, just because, you said it yesterday in our Discord, and feel free to join the Discord, the Barking Browns Discord, if you'd like.
Where's that?
Said it in the Discord. It links in the description. That you're like, I'm just going to be on like the happy side of this. Like, I'm just going to be on the positive side of this. And as the day went on, and when I woke up today, I was like, that's where I'm going to fucking be. Like, that's where I'm going to live until I can't anymore. Right. Like, in one game is not going to be enough to deter me from that. So we're going to get into it, man. But just what's your overall, I guess we'll get into some specifics, but just overall your thought process coming out of that game.
I mean, are you going to start on the defensive side of the ball and say you held the Bengals to 17 points? You held Burrow to under 100 net passing yards.
7 yards.
You had 22 first downs, so they're 11. You had 347 yards, so they're 145. You beat the Bengals. 4 plays, and you talked about this yesterday. 4 plays. 2 missed kicks and 2 volleyball sets by wide receivers. You beat that team by 10 points. Those don't happen. That's the reality we're living in. You were the better team yesterday. Now, you did get the loss. But I can't assess, and I know because we've just endured so much bullshit that it's easy to let all that other stuff mount up and like somehow get transferred over to this game. But this isn't a curse, man. A curse implies that you have no control over the outcome. 4 plays had control over that outcome, and they weren't cursed. You had a kicker who missed 2 kicks, man. You lost by 1 point. And I do want to talk about the kicker for a second. Because I've seen people like someone needs to be fired that he was starting. That kid was lights out all preseason. Down the middle, lights out all preseason. They had every reason to believe in him. Now, there is new information that's presented itself. So if they don't pivot and bring people in, judge them for that. But don't judge them for starting the kid. What they couldn't do is start Dustin Hopkins. That's what they couldn't do. And if they'd been Hopkins missing those kicks, there'd be pitchforks out for AB today. So I have no qualm of having that kid start the game. He was lights out all preseason. Everything that I saw was right down the middle. But new information presents itself, so we can change our opinions now. He was shit yesterday. Can't happen. But everybody's like, just cut him. you got to replace him first. You got to replace him before you cut him. So you bring people in to compete with him. If those people beat him, that's the new kicker. If he beats those, guess what? He's still your kicker. And the bottom line is, if he fielded the punt at the very end of the game and came within, got to a 62-yard field goal, you'd have seen a day to put him back out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and there could have been a redemption arc even. So we're so quick to bury people. He had a shitty day, and it ruined a lot of people's days yesterday. I get that. But, like, just let it play out, man. Either they're going to get a new kicker or they don't, because you might have to see this kid again next Sunday.
And my thing, too, it's like I just felt bad for him. Like, I just felt really bad for him because that second kick, I'll give him one thing. Hopkins' misses were worse. Like, at least those kicks, at least the two he missed were at least like the field goal. The field goal, what was that, like 38 or 35? 35. And that one was at least close. So, like, I can't be as mad. But, yeah, I'm with you on that in the sense that, like, they did what everybody wanted. They moved on from Hopkins. And if it was just easy to find a amazing kicker, everyone would have an amazing kicker. And that's the one thing, like, yes, that was the problem. That was a big part of the problem yesterday. You make those kicks, you win that football game. It's zero question about that. You make those kicks, you win that football game. Hell, you make one of those kicks, and you probably win that football game. Yep. Well, no, if it was the extra point, it would have been tied. You get my fucking point.
Yeah.
But my point is, you make one of those kicks, you put yourself in a position to make another kick or something like that. Whatever. You win that football game. I'm not sure who else you could have called on in that week after, because here's the thing, what you're going on for putting kickers out there is what they look like in training camp, practice, in the preseason. Mm-hmm. And as you said, he was awesome in all of those. Like OBR insider Lane Atkins, it had talked about it all summer long that, like, because people were like, are they going to keep Hopkins? And Lane was just saying all summer, like, they really like Andre Schmidt because he's been awesome, like, every time they've had him out there. So he said that all summer long, that, like, they would consider moving to the kid if they felt like Hopkins wasn't giving him a chance. And that's what happened. And it just so happened. And people want to fire Bubba Ventrone. A special teams coordinator does not teach a kicker how to kick. No. He's all out there for making sure the protection is right for the punt teams, for the kick, for the field goal and extra points, and for the coverage teams. He doesn't teach a kicker how to kick. Like, that's the kicker making kicks is not on your special teams coordinator. And I don't know how many times we have to say that, but, like, not saying that I love Bubba Ventrone because he's had his issues, but that one's not his fault.
Hey, look across the league. You tell me how many special teams coordinators were ex-kickers. They're not. They're gunners. There's more people to coach. You know what I mean? Like, that's a specialized thing. He's not teaching how long snaps, not teaching how to hold. That's all specialized drills,
Yeah.
But they do got to figure it out. You can't allow that to drag you down. I 100% agree. And after what we saw yesterday, they should be working kickers out. Now, I don't know if we'll find out the workout list today or tomorrow, but I assume that they're going to bring some legs in. And if he gets beat, he gets beat. And then, this train moves on. You got to go to Baltimore in 1 week, man. That's not a place for the week, My thing is, like, at least put one on the practice squad this week, and just have them not just work out today or tomorrow, whenever it is, and have them compete all week long. That's what I would do. Like, honest to God. And then if it's just like, because, like, you saw some missed kicks from Hopkins in practice too. Like, it wasn't just in the games. So, like, if Schmidt is in his head, he's going to miss kicks during practice this week. And if you got somebody else that's not missing them, boom, pow, move on. But you talked a little bit about it. We'll talk about the defense. We'll go to the offense second, because I just want to start off with the things that really made me optimistic. Okay.
How many yards per carry did Chase Brown have yesterday running the football?
I didn't see the totals there.
Do you want to guess?
How much?
Do you want to guess?
I don't know. 2.6?
No, 2 flat.
Oh, okay.
He had 21 carries for 43 yards. So I guess it's almost 2.1, a little bit over 2.0 to get to 43. Because everybody was like,
considering the way that first drive went.
Yes, that's exact, because everybody wanted to bury Mason Graham on that first drive, and he had a bad first drive. But like his job is to be part of the run defense, and the run defense held the Bengals. The Bengals, if you add in Joe Burrow's carries, which actually doesn't really change it very much at all. If you add in Joe Burrow's carries, the team had 23. The Bengals had 23 carries for 46 yards and a touchdown, and their long run of the day was 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's a badass run defense right there, boys. Mm-hmm. And that's a run defense that I'm very, very interested to see them go up against the Ravens next week. Listen, that Ravens game last night, there was a lot of times where I was like, oh, we're hosed.
Yeah.
Because they're very, very good. Yeah. But this run defense was awesome. Jamar Chase had 2 catches for 26 yards. T. Higgins had 3 catches for 33 yards. Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward. And Miles Harden. Little Miles Harden love there because Miles Harden didn't get killed either. 113 yards passing, 95 net when you take out the sacks. Carson Schlesinger, your boy, with a 90.0 PFF defense grade. That dude was all over the freaking field. He had, 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, a QB hit. I thought he had a pass defense. He doesn't have one recorded in the official there. But, that defense was 2023 defense. And here's the best thing. I know people are going to say the Browns only scored 16 points. Uh-huh. And people are going to say, well, they're not going to be able to sustain games like this if the defense is out there all the time. Well, you do realize that the Browns offense had 35 minutes at the time of possession compared to 24 for the Bengals, right? Even though they didn't put up points, they had multiple drives that were 5, 6, 7 minutes. So
yeah, well, they had 4 drives that were over 10 plays. Just that alone. Even if you don't score touchdowns off that and you're only scoring field goals, or you're giving your defense every bit of the chance to rest. That was what was missing from last year. The defense could never get any sustained time to get to the breath, to get their wheels under them. It was always right back on the field, right? 3 and out. Maybe they get 1 first down, a 4-play drive. You're back out on the field. When you're sustaining 10-play drives, man, you can see what this defense can put together.
Here's the offensive plays in terms of offensive drives in terms of plays per drive. This is every drive in the game for them. The first touchdown drive was 16.
Yep.
The second one was a 3 and out. Then they had 11-play drive that was a field goal. Then the third quarter starts. They have a touchdown drive that's 13 plays. Mm-hmm. Then they had the 2 plays with the second one being the interception.
Yeah.
Then they had a turnover on downs, which was on 7 plays in the fourth quarter. Then they had 6 plays and a punt, 10 plays and a missed field goal, and then 2 plays and an interception. So and then you had the end of game one, and
you really did that without your running game being on fire. And you were still able to sustain drives in that way.
If you can do that, what I'm getting at is the defense can play like this when you're getting that kind of comp, even if it's not resulting in points, because this is what they did in 23. They won a lot of games where they scored 20 points tops. I look at the San Francisco game. I look at the Chicago game. If you can get these double-digit drives, especially, if these – you got to get more points. You got to get more points than 16, I know. But my point is that this defense, it can be sustainable for this defense if the offense can get that. But I'll let you have your flowers with Carson Schlesinger before we move to the offense, because Carson Schlesinger – I thought he looked like a veteran linebacker leading that group yesterday.
Yeah, he's going to be the staple for the next 5 to 10. He's the guy. I don't know who the UCLA defensive coordinator was the year before last, how this kid couldn't get on the field. It's not even because we talk about he's a walk-on, so you think walk-on, you think of these guys that are just tryhards. He's an elite level with unbelievable instincts. His instincts are ridiculous. There will be at least 2 games this year that he seals the victory. He was just intercepting it over the middle, just picking a shallow. He's got such a good feel for the game. And, green dot first game, playing against the high-octane offense like that, he was flying over the field. He's legit, man. He's legit. And the linebackers are fine, and don't get me wrong, you get JOK back, you get better. But I'm just saying, even if this is the core for the next 2 or 3, you'd feel good about it. You start adding some things back into it, you can get more excited. But Schwesh looked great. I think when I think about my big takeaways from yesterday, it is the rookies. Mm-hmm. walk away from yesterday's game, and and we're going to focus a lot of that on offense. But like, man, these dudes played. Like they were ready for the moment. They did. The game was not too fast for them. It was not too big. They fit right in. It's I don't know. That's one of the reasons I feel the most optimistic is that you added pieces that are players. You didn't just add pieces just to plug up spots. Like these dudes are going to be impact players across the board.
Yeah, and so like Myles Garrett was a freak. Isaiah McGuire was awesome. There were no explosive plays. Like there were no explosive plays because they had no time. Like I'll pull this up in just a second for the.
Do you have the quarterback hits in front of you?
That's what I'm going to try to do. Will you filibuster for just a second?
To pick his ass up off the ground yesterday. I mean, he killed himself a few times. That one stunt where Myles loops around and comes through the middle.
Speared him like it was WWE, man.
It was, that was the prescription, though. That was Burrow has to be under duress. And they did that. The first drive was an anomaly, but they scripted that too. You know what I mean? Like the other team gets the same opportunities we get, and their scripted drive looked good and it bled us down. But once it came down to situational football, playing moment to moment, you're playing based on the down and the distance. The Browns kept them in obvious passing downs and just assaulted Burrow all day. There's no way the Bengals wake up today feeling like they were the better team. They know they got the win. They got to feel good about that. And if you're a team that barely wins, it's always easier to learn from those wins than it is to focus on the losses because the losses kind of consume you. So, but at the end of the day, you think they're looking forward to playing us again? Ain't no way in hell, man.
You had 4, 1, 2, and one of them's Carson Schlesinger. I understand that. But you had 1, 2, 3, 4 players have a pass rush win rate of over 20%. Mm-hmm. Myles Garrett had a 28, and right behind him, Isaiah McGuire had a 27.8.
Yeah,
like he was right freaking there. They had 4 quarterback hits, 3 sacks, and 15 total pressures. There were 8 hurries. They didn't bat down any passes. How many
times did Burrow throw? How many times he dropped back?
I think 30-ish. I don't have that. Hold on, let me see.
Well, that's the realm I want to live in on our offense, to be honest with you. Only throwing that about 32 times.
30. There were 30 pass attempts.
And 8 hurries? How many hits?
4.
Yeah, that ain't cool. That ain't cool for him. How many sacks total?
3. 2 miles and 1 by Isaiah McGuire that was nearly a safety.
Yeah.
So if we're looking for optimism right away, it's not just that this defense was good. It was led by guys like Isaiah McGuire, what's Isaiah McGuire, 25, 26, something like that.
Yeah.
He's in that range. Carson Schlesinger, Mason Graham, I thought looked a lot better. Actually, Mason Graham, and as the game went on, because I did think that first drive he kind of got pushed around a little bit, but you're going to have that from time to time. But
it's one of the hardest positions to acclimate to immediately. You know, you see a lot of guys come in the league, but defensive tackle usually takes them 2 or 3 years to be who they're going to be in the long run. You know, you have your freaks like Aaron Donald, you have outliers, and Graham could still be on that outlier list. It was rough early, but he corrected. I mean, I think I got a brief look at the PFF stuff. I think he's finished with like a 67 overall.
Yeah, and he had an 8.7 pass rush win rate. So, which for a defensive tackle that's known for stopping the run, that's not a terrible debut for me, because the Bengals interior, like their center, like they've got a couple interior offensive linemen that aren't terrible.
No, that rookie from Fairchild from Georgia, like you see there, and Mims is a monster. I mean, the Bengals have invested in their offensive line, and that I will say my biggest takeaway coming from the game, going into it to coming out of it, is I expected our offensive line to do more to their defensive line, and I expected our defensive line to pretty much hoe them, and that they held up more. Cincinnati's offensive line did better than I thought they would do.
They did.
And even though I think our defensive line obviously won that matchup, it wasn't as one-sided as I would hope going into it.
Yeah, so and props to Greg Newsome. Let's see if it continues, but he had a hell of a day. Like those 2 guys, like we said, would. And then they played a lot of 3 safeties. They used a lot of 3 safeties to kind of cover up that nickel, and it worked against a really good passing offense. So we'll see if it continues, but like we were very worried about the nickel position, and that was not nearly – it wasn't the liability I thought it was going to be. Like
no, that is the best. It's a mix, though, because we talk about passing offenses. From a skill point perspective, there's not a better passing offense than Cincinnati from the skill point. You mix in the offensive line, and then with the running game, like they don't run a ton of play action. You know what I mean? Like there's different implements. You're going to see different versions of it, but just flat out, just pure passing. That's the best skill positions you will see this year.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So let's move to the offense, where I feel like coming out of this game that offense did not play like a team that only scored 16 points.
I know.
Like that's the worst part, is because what we did see is, because of some of the limitations that offense has, their margin for error, if they're going to win, is so thin. And when they had 2, interceptions and 2 missed kicks, that's far too much adversity for the offense to be able to overcome, which is, 4 really bad, 2 bad turnovers and 2 drives that should have ended in more points, because one of them was a touchdown. But those are not minor things, because you've killed 2 drives. But dude, I did want a real quick shout out. There were like a couple times they were in like 2nd and 20 and stuff like that, and they got like 15 yards. Like that was an NFL offense to me. Like it's still they're not putting up 30 points a game, but are they going to score 24 points regularly? I think they have a shot. Yeah. We'll see how they do against better defenses. But I thought coming out of that is a far more, at least, functional and competent unit to last year. The bar's low for that to be a fact, but it definitely had a lot better feel to it.
Well, the word's competent, and that was my whole thing. This is going to be a competent offense, and just that alone will let them compete with the style of defense they play. Just be a competent offense, and we saw they moved the ball. They had 22 first downs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you just move the ball, and the things that I take away from the offense, the things that I was wanting to see, I saw. That didn't always happen, man. That was, I had back during when we were doing like Senior Bowl stuff, I was like, man, Harold Fant is the perfect 2 tight end. If you already got your tight end 1, that's a guy. Go get that guy, because he can do all the other things. And then you see it in action, and you don't know when you draft a kid, is he going to be able to do that right away, or is that going to take a couple years to get to? Man, they threw that kid in the deep end of the pool, and he was all over the place. 7 of 9 for 63. Now we want him to be 8 of 9 and make that one catch that negates the Judy, flip up, because then that doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, man, he's going to be a serious part of this offense. He's going to be a serious part of this passing game and the versatility. And then you see what they were able to do with Dylan Sampson in the passing game too, just taking advantage of man-on-man concepts, just getting that kid in space. And
do you know what his Dylan Sampson's average depth of target was?
Probably negative
3.6, which means on average he was catching the ball 3.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and yet he had, what did he have? He had 64 yards on 8 receptions,
which means he had close to 100 total actual yards to get to
Yeah, 29 rushing.
See the pathway, you see the things that they can do, and then you start. Joe Kulagood and his opportunities. I feel bad for Tillman, because he had such a good game until he didn't. Mm-hmm. He really took some big steps, and then the fact that Joe trusts him the way he does, because we know that we saw these 2 on the field 2 years ago. That part wasn't there. He didn't trust him yet. He was a young receiver making his way in the league. And, and Tillman had pockets last year where he showed you he could do these things, but, the concussion took away from the end of it. We didn't, kind of a mixed bag, did not know where he was going to be in year 3. And then you see where he's at in year 3. Man, that's a big possession receiver. That's a big man who controls the middle of the field. Flacco will use him. Judy, I can see, you could say you're disappointed in Judy's performance yesterday. I could live with that. Obviously there's drop passes, he body catches too much. But you know what he's capable of. You know what other defenses have to prepare for, just because they have to prepare for his speed. They have the pieces, the little elements that all do the different things. When you put them together, you could see how it could be a cohesive offense. You add Quinshon Judkins to it, and I'm bullish. This is going to be a fun offense, and I'm with you. I don't expect too many 30-point outbursts, but I think they could live in the mid-20s.
Yeah, which is, with this defense, they could win 7, 8, 9 games, something like that. If they can do that routinely, that's why I picked them to go 9-8. I kind of thought, this game that they just played played out exactly how they wanted to play out, except they missed their kicks. like, because they kept it low scoring. That allowed their offense to work through some kinks. I want to, so like Dylan Sampson, Harold Fannin, those dudes showed you why there should be reason for optimism on the offensive side of the ball. Carson Schlesinger and Mason Graham on the other side, like, and now potentially getting Quinshon Judkins back. Here's where I'm at. They've got to figure out the run game. They also had 2 yards per carry as a team.
Yes.
This is, I want to ask your opinion, and I haven't seen the all 22.
Same.
Some of the offensive linemen graded out fine. Some of them graded out poorly. And I think it was a mixture of both. But when I watched that running game, I felt like if you had a more competent running back over Jerome Ford, because I think I've defended Ford, but that was just not.
The lack of vision was on full display yesterday. I think everyone could, without the all 22, you can still see what's missing at the element of his game.
And that's exactly what I was going to get to. Like you said it, you laid that out there perfectly for me. Is like when I'm watching this game and I'm watching like the replay, because it's hard to catch it in real time, but like when they would show the replay from the end zone view, which is kind of some of the all 22 stuff that you want to see when it comes to run game that really lays it out for you. Like I was like, there's a lane right there. There's a lane right there. If it's not a big gaping lane, he's not going to see it. Like, and I felt like, was the offensive line great? No. They were much better than last year, but they weren't great. But do I think it was a situation where they could have had 30 more yards rushing if Quinshon had the touches and maybe a little bit more than Ford, but if he had those, because Ford had out-snapped Sampson. So if it was Judkins as the number one snapper, and I think, I saw some small rushing lanes that a power back could have got 3 or 4 yards that he got 1. And so the offensive line's got to be better, but I do think the running back deserves, like last year, a lot of it was the offensive line, in my opinion, was why the run game wasn't great. I think more blame goes to some of the running backs in this game. It wasn't great because with Dylan Sampson, he had a low yards per carry, but that was because they tried to run him through between the tackles, which is just not.
He had some success, and God bless that man. His contact balance, he don't die easy.
No, he doesn't.
Which might end his career early because he's not a big guy to be like taking extra hits after he's like surviving out there. But yeah, I'm with you. The offensive line will get better. It's a lot of continuity. It's a lot of guys getting to play together and getting the running backs learning the timing. Because just when you're doing zone, because it's a moving concept, it isn't like I'm going to run straight to this. Like the whole thing kind of stretches, and you have to be intuitive with it. And that's where we got spoiled with Nick, because Nick always found that cutback. He always found it. He'd press, foot in the ground, find the cutback, slip out the backside, and all of a sudden the safety's shitting himself. You know what I mean? And that's what you're aiming for with the zone scheme, the wide zone scheme. For whatever reason, man, Ford, and obviously he started off in a wide zone and then went to what they went to last year. So he's kind of moved around things. I think he's just an average back, and I think that Quinshon could be special. I think Sampson could be special. I think there's going to be games where their roles are interchangeable to where 22 personnel get them both on the field at the same time too. Like I just see a lot of possibilities for the dynamic of those two running backs together. But will they move off of Ford or cut Sanders? Now that the fans, I know everybody wants keep all the rookies. I get it. Yeah. They trust Ford though. Their trust of Ford was evident yesterday by him out-snapping Sampson. They just trust the guy. I know that doesn't go away overnight. Now they're seeing the same tape we are, and if they have the same criticisms we do. Obviously, I haven't seen the all 22, and I'll remind everyone who's watching this game at home. It's we're all living through that same little window. Mm-hmm. It's a picture inside of a picture. That picture just keeps getting bigger the more you expand it, and it adds more context to what's actually happening on the field. And I didn't see the Bengals do anything overly complicated in run defense. I didn't see with their run fits. It was pretty standard, and they played well. They played better than I thought they would as well. Al Golden had those guys ready, but I think if you add Quinshon to this mix and you give him the touches that Ford was getting, you ain't ending at 2.6 or whatever it was per carry. You want to be on that plus side of 4, and then you're moving the sticks. You're staying ahead. You're keeping out of obvious passing downs, and And for the love of God, let's not make Joe throw it 45 times.
Yeah, that was as I was getting into the third and fourth quarter, and I told you this. I said the ticker's down at the bottom when they're on offense, what Flacco's stats are, and I really became aware of it. I mean, I knew that they were throwing it a lot, but I really became aware of it when it was at like 38, and I'm like, it's just too much. You've got to figure out this run game. But like, I do think some of it's on the offensive line, but I do think some of it's on the running back, and I do think Quinshon Judkins helps it. Let me ask you this question, though. Is there a point where if the interior of this offensive line struggles more, because they had their moments. I thought overall the pass blocking wasn't bad. DeJuan wasn't very good overall in my mind. But
I thought Trey Hendrickson for the majority of the game. And again, no, it wasn't good. I'm not by any means am I trying to say DeJuan had a good game, but he's blocking the guy that led the league in sacks last year.
And he didn't let him take over the game.
Point.
You know, it's like he didn't let him take over the game, so like that's something. But overall, I thought the pass blocking was fine. Like some people are seeing some high PFF grades for them, and a lot of it has to do their overall, and a lot of it I think has to do if you look at the PFF grades for like their pass blocking and their run blocking isn't quite as high. But is there a point where they consider benching one of those guys if they get Judkins and everything gets going and they're still having issues in the interior? Do you think they bench one of those guys, or do you think it takes one of those guys getting hurt?
Honestly, I think it takes one of them getting hurt before they would bench. But it's also like, what do you have in reserve? What do you have that you think's a better idea? Like it all comes down to that. Because the Zinter was a healthy scratch yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't lead me to believe that they think he's on the precipice of taking over. How much difference could Whippler make in that? I think if I were to look at one of those positions, that's the one I would look at right now.
Yeah, so if you look at this about the grading for the offensive line, like Joel Bitonio, he was good, 78 on both. And then you get to like Postage, 74 as a pass blocker, but 57 as a run blocker. And then, yeah,
he doesn't displace people.
It wasn't good, really very good for Cornelius Lucas. He had a 59 pass blocking, a 47 run blocking. Conklin was a 59.4 and a 45.4.
Yeah.
DeWand actually graded really, really poorly. I thought he was a little bit better than what they graded him at. They gave him a 33 pass blocking and a 41 run blocking and a 29.9 overall.
His guy wasn't getting home, but that's the guy. That's where the pressure was coming from.
They have him with 7 pressures. They have him allowing 7 pressures.
Yeah, I saw 8 last night, so they must have taken 1 away. And I saw like the first, obviously not non-official numbers.
Sampson let up 1. Jerome Ford let up 2.
So we don't know anything about Jack Sullivan. Like, that's the thing we're kind of waiting on still, right? The only injury that happened yesterday was Jack Conklin.
Yeah.
Is there a world where this goes on for 2 or 3 games and it doesn't get better, and then they move Lucas to left, and if Jack's ready to play right, or even just if something's wrong with his eye, I don't know what it is. You know, I'm only speculating at this point, which I don't like doing, but like I'm just looking at permutations, things you could do to tweak the offensive line and try to keep this thing on the up and up. I know DeJuan's always felt more comfortable on the right. I'm sure his agent would feel more comfortable with him playing on the left. You know what I mean? There's a lot of money on the table right there. But it wasn't a good showing. But considering who you're blocking, it wasn't, like you said, he didn't take over the game. They didn't lose the game because of Trey Hendrickson just going off. But he has to be better, obviously. And there's tougher tests coming up. You know, you're not too far in advance from seeing Abdul Carter. You're not too far in advance. Or not Abdul Carter. Micah Parsons. I wish it was Abdul Carter. Jesus Christ. In 2 weeks, obviously, all the problems that Baltimore will bring to you in their front, they're physical. They're in your face. Aiden Hutchinson. The gauntlet goes. So he's gonna have time to actually. There's opportunity in this for him to satisfy everyone with his play. But if it doesn't, you do have to shake something up. I just don't know what that would look like right now.
Yeah, but I would say I'm still firmly in the camp that I think Quinshon Judkins does improve it by a decent bit. In my opinion, like I do think that's a thing. And I watched that offense, man, and it really did. when you watch it, I really felt like they were better than 16 points. Like that's one thing that kind of depresses me about it being a loss, because everybody's going to be all over the offense when I thought they were fine. The defense was awesome. The offense has some things to clean up, man. You can't drop those passes. Like there were so many just critical drops in just horrible spots. Like Jerry Jeudy's fourth down one, like that wasn't even a hard catch.
No,
it wasn't, because I get it. If Joe throws it a mile over your head and you got to Odell Beckham it, yes, those throws are those catches are hard to make. You're right. But as a wide receiver, and I think I saw it from Jerry Jeudy, I saw it from Harold Fannin talked about it, Cedric Tillman talked about it, where they were like, yeah, that was unacceptable by us. Like they all took full ownership of those drops. And because I don't know the exact quote from Jeudy, but like when he was talking, like one of the last things he said was like, if it hits my hands, I have to make the play. Like that's what it, and I love that kind of ownership by guys like that, because he wasn't just out there like, yeah, man, it was just like, it was tough. The sun was in my, you know what I mean? He didn't bullshit you. He didn't like, which is probably what I would have done, because I'm a little bitch, but like, I'd be like, the quarterback threw it too hard. My hands hurt. But like he like, it was just, I really, especially for a leader, because it feels like he has stepped forward into a leadership role this year. Just like he just was so vocal and stuff during training camp, and like was leading by example and doing some of these things. And so it was really cool to see ownership of that. But if you clean up some drops and you can get just the running game to 3.5 yards a carry, I don't even need it to like have that be the first milestone. Get it up to there, and then we can talk about taking it to another level. Because if they get 3.8 yards per carry in that game, it probably takes away 10 or so pass attempts, maybe somewhere in there. And that's kind of where you want to live. But like you said this too, Joe was pretty conservative in this game.
There was a lot of pushing the ball, and that's where I always hold my judgments till I see the all 22, because I don't know what he's seeing from the TV copy that's causing him to keep that in the intermediate range. But you can live in that intermediate range too. If the guys catch the balls, we're not having a discussion. You know what I mean? And the one thing I want to say, because I'm seeing it all across the board, Joe threw 2 picks. You got to, they're all trying to, buddy, you got to bail your quarterback out every now and again. Not every pass is going to be perfect, but if it hits both hands, like Jeudy said, you get paid to catch the football. Definitely not volleyball, set it up in the air. Tips over, get you killed. You know what I mean?
Dude, that volleyball set, as soon as he did it, I was like, oh my God.
Dude, it's catch the ball. And Joe's out there battling for you. And I want to throw it down. And if you haven't done it, go back and listen to Joe's post presser. The most grown-up post press conference I've heard from a quarterback in a Browns jersey. With perspective, who's been there, who's people have shitted on, who's been to the mountaintop and held the Lombardi and been a Super Bowl MVP. To listen to him talk about how this has to go forward and not let the negative shit consume you, because it will. It'll fill you way quicker than the positive stuff. But you have to build on the shit that was positive and eliminate the shit that's negative. You got to pull that apart. You know what I mean? If they take that approach, man, and they put the blinders on, and it's 1-0. Just go 1-0. I know it's. The reality is you're going to a place that's very, very tough to win. You're going to Baltimore next week. There's a real reality where you play the perfect game, just how you play yesterday with made kicks and catch balls and no interceptions, and you could still lose that game
by just double digits.
You know what I mean? You can't get wrapped up in like, well, it's over now. You're 0-2. Like, go out there and compete, put your best foot forward, and try to punch them in the mouth. If you come up short but you play your best, that'll transfer to the next week when you come back home against Green Bay. All that stuff builds, and this is a gauntlet. Every team you play in the first 6 games of this stretch are playoff contenders, and half of them are Super Bowl contenders. That's the reality. That isn't the same on the back half of the schedule. But it's about surviving, and I know you're 1-0, and I know it sucked, and I know yesterday felt really defeating and deflating. This team's going to compete, man. This team's going to play hard all year. I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, they competed. That was the number one thing that I wrote a recap for the OBR, and that was like the thing I said at the end. I'm like, they're going to compete. They're going to play. Like there was a lot of stuff that was enjoyable about it. Like every time Harold Fannin touched the ball, I was excited, because it was like, man, that's the future. He was shedding dudes. Like, dude, I got to admit, it threw me off his first catch because for whatever reason, the 44 looked so weird that when he caught his first pass, I was like, who the fuck was that? Like, and I was like, oh, it's Harold Fannin. Like a quick, but like, because when we saw him before, he was 88. So it was like, yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, that one threw me off a little bit. And then Dylan Sampson in the open field, I'm like, just they basically used a bunch of pitches to him, like you said, like you said before, like they were doing swing passes. They were essentially running the ball with him to the outside. They were just pitching it out to the outside, which is what they need to do with him. But they had to run him up the middle because they didn't have anybody else to run up the middle. And I think that changes with Quinshon Judkins and it adds another layer to this thing where I think it can be competent and above all, I saw Jake Burns on Brownsville breaking down, talk about it. Like, it sucks to lose these games because you're in Miles' prime and Denzel's prime and all this stuff, especially because now we're talking about all these really young guys being like, hey, at least these guys in the future looks bright. So yeah, it sucks. It sucks and it stings. But I walk out of there and I don't you can come at me and call me moral victory all you want. I don't give a flying fuck. I had more fun watching that game than I did pretty much at any point outside of the snow game last year. Like 90% of yesterday was better than like 90% of what they did last year. And I do think the offense gets better. The run game will get better. How much better? I don't know. But I do think it gets better just by adding Quinshon and then some time, some things like that.
Flacco's driving force of the offense. Once that running game gets on track, you'll see what's actually capable.
And you'll see the shot plays, like Isaiah Bond, for example. Like, they got him involved early to use his speed, but then didn't really do anything with him after that. But like, I think the shot plays come once they start getting some 6-7 yard gains consistently. And if Quinshon starts, I'm just saying, if Quinshon Judkins starts,
you lost me. You lost me. My setup just exploded.
Just went totally. But I think you add that thing, and they start taking some shot plays. Like, I'm optimistic after 0-1. It's gonna be hard to beat Baltimore. They're really freaking good, but like, there's some things to look at this and just be like, hey, they did a lot of really good things, but the margin for error is razor thin, and they just made too many of them. It's just all. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It.
4 plays separate you winning that game and winning it handily. By the way, those 4 plays. So you go from winning it handily by 1. That's the margin of error, And it only is because the Bengals are a talented team, but they're flawed. They have weaknesses, and you didn't exploit enough of them to get that victory. So it hurts, but like, I am not defeated, brother. I know that. I feel good about what this team's gonna be able to put together.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. If you guys want to see about the 26 quarterback class, though, I wrote another article, so that'll be out soon about the 26 quarterback class. John Mateer, I was asked today by Barry McBride who I would compare John Mateer to, and I said Jameis Winston if he was an elite athlete. That is your Oklahoma quarterback. That dude is reckless, freaky arm talent, and he led the team. He had 72 rushing yards, and the second guy on Oklahoma, the top running back on Oklahoma, had 24.
Really? Wow.
They had 2 running backs with 24 yards, one with 8 yards. So like, they had 20 carries for like 60 yards, 64 yards or something like that. Behind John Mateer, who had like 72 or 79 or something like that. So just put it out there. We don't know when we'll be live or when we'll be back again later this week, but we will be when we can.
It will happen.
So we love you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe, give us a thumbs up. We'll see you guys again next time.
Get in the Discord, people.
Discord.